Imagine this: a 6-year-old girl stands in the middle of a crowded hospital corridor, tears streaming down her cheeks, clutching a single crayon drawing. She looks up at her father and says the 4 words that shatter his world: "Daddy, why can't I walk?" 1 second. That's all it took for his life to split in 2, before the cry, and after. Stay with me until the very last frame, because what this father did next didn't just change him, it rewrote an entire future. The fluorescent lights in room 312 buzzed like angry hornets. Aisha's tiny legs dangled off the edge of the bed, wrapped in white plaster that looked too heavy for her frame. Her father, Bilal, stood at the foot of the bed holding the discharge papers the doctor had just shoved into his trembling hands. Spinal muscular atrophy, type 2, the doctor had said, the words landing like stones in still water. She'll never walk unaided. With therapy and braces, maybe a wheelchair by age 8. Bilal heard none of it after the word never. Aisha's crayon drawing, a stick figure family under a yellow sun, lay crumpled on the blanket. She had drawn it that morning, before the MRI, before the verdict. Now her lower lip quivered. "Daddy!" Her voice cracked the silence. "The doctor said my legs are sleeping forever. But I want to chase kites with you. Like last Eid." Bilal's knees buckled. He caught the bed rail to keep from falling. The corridor outside filled with the squeak of stretchers, the murmur of prayers, the smell of antiseptic thick enough to choke on. He wanted to scream, to punch the wall, to bargain with God right there in the hallway. Instead, he knelt, pressed his forehead to Aisha's plaster cast, and let the tears fall where she couldn't see. That night, back in their one-room flat above the tailor shop, Bilal sat on the charpai staring at the sewing machine that paid their rent. Bolts of cloth, midnight blue, bridal red, sunshine yellow, leaned against the wall like silent witnesses. Aisha slept on the mattress beside him, her breathing soft, her legs motionless under the thin blanket. He opened his phone. Searched, SMA Type 2 life expectancy. The screen glowed, progressive. Wheelchair by teens. Respiratory support by 20s. Bilal closed the phone. The room spun. He was 32, a widower since Aisha was 2, a tailor who could stitch a sherwani in 4 hours but couldn't stitch his daughter's future. At 3:17 a.m., he did something he hadn't done since his wife's funeral. He prayed. Not the rehearsed lines from Friday sermons, but raw, desperate words that scraped his throat. "Take my legs if you have to. Just give her the sky." Outside, the muezzin's call for Fajr floated over the rooftops. Bilal didn't sleep. By dawn, he had sketched a design on the back of a bill receipt, a child's wheelchair, but not plastic and cold. Lightweight aluminum, painted sunflower yellow, with kite-shaped side panels that could unfold into a desk. Wheels that locked into a mini easel. A seat that tilted so Aisha could paint even if her hands weakened. He stared at the sketch until the paper trembled in his grip. "I'll build it," he whispered to the empty room. "I'll build her wings." 18 months later, the same hospital corridor smelled of fresh paint instead of despair. Aisha rolled down the hallway in a sunflower yellow wheelchair, kite panels fluttering with every push of her thin arms. Children in the pediatric ward trailed behind her like ducklings, begging for rides. Nurses clapped. The same doctor who delivered the verdict stood speechless, clipboard forgotten. Bilal walked beside her, no longer the broken man in the crumpled curtain. His eyes carried crow's feet from sleepless nights in the workshop, but they sparkled. "Ready, Beta?" he asked. Aisha grinned, missing front tooth and all. "Born ready, Abu." They stopped at the rooftop terrace. Bilal had bribed the security guard with 3 custom-stitched uniforms. The city sprawled below, minarets, kites, laundry lines dancing in the wind. He unfolded the kite panels. Clipped a canvas to the built-in easel. Handed Aisha a brush taped to a splint so her weakening fingers could grip. "Paint the sky you want," he said. The first stroke was red. Then blue. Then a yellow sun so bright it hurt to look at. Wind tugged the canvas, Aisha laughed, the sound ricocheting off the water tanks. Below, on the street, people stopped. Phones rose. A crowd gathered. Someone started filming. By evening, the video, "Little Girl Paints the Sky from Her Wheelchair," exploded across WhatsApp groups, then Facebook, then news channels. Hashtags in Urdu and English, #AishaKiudan, #Wings Not Wheels. Offers poured in. A tech startup in Karachi wanted to mass-produce the wheelchair. A Dubai investor wired seed money. A school for special needs kids begged Bilal to design furniture. But the real miracle happened 3 weeks later. Aisha's physiotherapist called Bilal to the gym. Watch. Aisha, legs in new carbon fiber braces Bilal had sewn himself with Kevlar thread, stood between parallel bars. Her knees knocked. Sweat beaded her forehead. "One step," the therapist coached. Aisha looked at her father. He nodded, throat too tight for words. She lifted her right foot. Placed it forward. The brace clicked. Then the left. Another click. 2 steps. The gym erupted. Therapists cried. Bilal sank to the floor, palms open on his knees, staring at the miracle he'd begged for in a 3 a.m. prayer. That night, Aisha fell asleep clutching her paintbrush. Bilal sat on the charpai, now pushed against a wall of prototypes, wheelchairs with book racks, toy storage, even one with a mini solar panel to charge a tablet. He opened his phone. The video of Aisha's first steps had 4.2 million views. Comments scrolled. This father didn't just build a chair. He built hope. "My son has CP. Can you make one in blue? Allah bless this man." He turned tears into wings. Bilal closed the phone. Looked at Aisha's sleeping face. The girl who once asked, "Why can't I walk?" now dreamed in color. And the father whose heart broke in a hospital corridor? He learned that some fractures let the light in. He whispered into the dark, the same prayer, now transformed. "Thank you for letting me be her legs," until she found her own. Outside, a kite soared over the rooftops, tethered to a string held by a girl who would never walk far, but who had already touched the sky. End screen, voiceover. If this story cracked your heart open and stitched it back with hope, share it. Because somewhere, a father is Googling at 3 a.m., praying for wings. Be the wind beneath them. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Next week, the boy who taught a village to read with bottle cap alphabets. You don't want to miss it.